The following program is brought to you by PodcastOne Sportsnet.
This episode of the Steve Austin Show is sponsored in part by BetOnline.ag. Football season is upon us, folks. Are you looking for a place to make your online wagers? Then head to BetOnline.ag to take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Use promo code PodcastOne to receive a 50% sign-up bonus today. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah! Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from the main streets of Los Angeles, California today. I'm sitting here at 317 Gimmick Street, about to open up a can of audio whoop ass, and that's the bottom line. Hey, man, if you're a big fan of pro wrestling, today is your day. We can talk sports entertainment if that's what you want to refer to it as. This weekend, WWE was over there at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. They delivered 2 pay-per-views. NXT was on Saturday with Takeover, and in the main roster, WWE superstars were in SummerSlam. To me, my opinion, both shows delivered. I give a big thumbs up to both of them. If I was to compare both of the shows, I would say I probably preferred the NXT show over the SummerSlam show, but I give them both a lot of credit. My favorite match was a couple of tag team guys that I didn't know too much about. I'd seen some of their individual work, but I hadn't seen any of their tag work. And probably my favorite match of the entire weekend was the NXT Tag Team title match against the champions, the Undisputed Era, going against the Mustache Mountain guys. That was an awesome-ass tag team match. And another one of my favorite matches was Ricochet going against Adam Cole. Also, Kairi Sane, I will mispronounce her name during the podcast, come to find out, defeated champion Shayna Baszler. That was also a standout match for me as well. And then also the NXT title match, Last Man Standing against the champion Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano, was outstanding as well. I loved Joe and AJ on the main roster. Brock and Roman towards the end with Braun Strowman was very interesting. There was a lot of good stuff that happened this weekend, and a lot of really, really solid matches, but those were some of my favorite matches just right off the bat that I can come up off the top of my head. But Wade Keller is going to join me today. As you know, Wade Keller from Pro Wrestling Torch has been covering pro wrestling for forever, it seems. He's been around damn near, well, he's been around longer than I have. So anyway, our conversation is going to last about an hour and a half. So I'm going to keep my open relatively short so I can go ahead and get into business. So there's no use in me flapping my gums and running up the time, because we've got an hour and a half talking nothing but NXT Takeover and SummerSlam. I enjoyed the shit out of both shows. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And thanks in advance to Wade Keller for joining me on the show. But before we get to talking about NXT TakeOver and SummerSlam with Wade Keller, listen up. The sports betting scene is currently hotter than it's ever been. And the best part is that our friends at BetOnline have partnered with us here at PodcastOne Sportsnet to get you in on the action. These are our go-to guys, the guys we trust for all things betting. Lines, odds, wagers, inside info, you name it. And wouldn't you know it, football season is coming up fast. If you want in on some of that sweet NFL and college football action, betonline.ag is your main destination. Head over to betonline.ag and use promo code PODCAST1. That's PODCAST and the number 1 to receive a 50% sign-up bonus today. One more time, betonline.ag and use promo code PODCAST1 to start winning with your online sportsbook experts.
From the mind of Martellus Bennett,
Once you pass 21, your birthdays are done.
it's Revenge of the Jocks on Podcast One.
Once you pass 23, you can't take me to Benihana's.
A no-holds-barred show about all the things that shape our world and culture.
I want to go to Africa. I've never been. I want to go full Jumanji. I'm Robin Williams and Jumanji.
Though, I think that's like in South America, though.
Revenge of the Jocks with Martellus Bennett
It's like trying to have sex the first time and getting it all wrong.
I think I'll keep trying.
on Podcast One and wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, I'm sitting here at 317 Gimmick Street. I'm talking to Wade Keller from Pro Wrestling Torch. Wade, I cut you off. Were you fixing to say something?
I I was taking a deep breath to prepare for a lot of wrestling talk.
Man, I tell you what, we did a preview of SummerSlam. I watched SummerSlam, but first I watched the NXT Takeover event. And when I turned on the WWE Network at 5 p.m., I'd already missed a couple of the matches. So it was a little confusion on my part. I had to go back and quickly watch a couple of matches to bring myself up to speed. And man, in the process, God dang, that dude, I saw one of the best tag matches I've seen in a long ass time. And I want you to break this thing down for me and tell me a little bit about these two teams, because the Undisputed Era against Mustache Mountain. Where did these guys come from? I've heard a couple of their names before, but yeah, dude, that was an amazing match.
I think it might be my favorite match of the whole weekend.
I think it was mine too. And dude, I was talking a lot about Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. There's a bunch of great matches. I loved Kairi Sane against Shayna Baszler. There was a bunch of good matches, but I agree with you. I think that this was indeed my favorite match of the entire weekend.
Yes. It was funny that Morrow compared the rivalry with Undisputed Era and Mustache Mountain to the Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express and the Hart Foundation against the British Bulldogs. And it's not at that level in certain ways, but as a tag team feud that you wouldn't get tired of watching because of how inventive and how just smartly wrestled the matches are, and how interesting the characters are, like in a way that's not like trying to be outlandish. Like, I'm trying to figure out where to start in my praise for it. I knew you would love it too. I mean, you and I just, really good tag team matches like this that I won't say they just kept it in the ring, but where it's not about all kinds of other stuff going on. It's just about having exchanges in the ring that look like guys are fighting, not performing, but doing so in an inventive but tight way. And my fandom is growing for Tyler Bate and his style exponentially. I mean, he was always great. But I just, like, anytime he's wrestling, I just stop. I make sure there's no distractions. And everybody in this match was good. I thought Trent Seven is growing on me even more too. Kyle O'Reilly, and there's something about his personality. I've always been a fan of his because I think there's sort of a dry sense of humor about the way that he does things as a heel. And then Roderick Strong is so solid. It was just 16 minutes of just like really, really modern, cutting edge, but smart and efficient tag team wrestling. So, they've had several matches already in NXT, and Bate and Trent Seven first kind of got acclaim, and obviously in the UK, and when WWE started investing more there. And I just big praise for these guys. Dude, what'd you like about it so much?
Oh, man. Well, I didn't know, I've heard of the guys, individually, but I never did know that they were wrestling as a tag team. So, I haven't really watched a whole lot of NXT. So, I knew O'Reilly, Strong, and Bates, and, Seven was kind of new on the scene to me. So I've seen all these guys work, a couple of singles, but that was it. Holy smokes, when you put these guys together in a tag team, just some of the unorthodox holds, and, maybe some of that's some from the English influence, I don't know, from some of the guys.
Totally, yeah.
But just the way they were laying their shit in, the aggressive nature, the way they were attacking each other. I mean, it was just such a solid work. No telegraphing, just great, very tight execution, a lot of explosive stuff. And, guys were laying their shit in. And it was the kind of stuff that you're not snugging each other so it looks bad. And you say, oh, man, that must have hurt. Everything looked phenomenal. And so you just really couldn't see through anything. And again, it was just the aggressive nature, and they were going for the wins. I love the way they manipulated the ref, pulled the other team, two guys were on the corner, and then I guess it would be, I don't know who exactly were the heels. But one guy, kind of readjusted the two guys in the middle of the ring. They really had to fight for that hot tag, and once they got that hot tag, everything just kind of kept building from there. There was a flat spot or two just here or there. Overall, man, dude, it was just a lights-out match that, I think it was the best match of the weekend.
I agree. And like, I enjoy New Day matches, and New Day's had a really nice run with some stellar tag matches against a pretty good handful of opponents. But their matches are kind of, like, their style is more for some people than this match, which is lots of stuff through the ropes, over the ropes, off the top rope, spots where there's some setup, and it's meant to get a big pop. And they did that again on SummerSlam, which we'll talk about. But this match was, I'm a fan of just a match where they keep it in the ring, like that AJ Cena match, where it's like, hey, we didn't leave the ropes. We didn't go outside the ring, and we had you. And I'm a big fan. It's not like I'm like every match should be that way and you should never do that. But the fact that they could do what they did as effectively as they did, but just through adding a little extra touch to some conventional exchanges, or little touches is probably understating it, is what I'm a big fan of. I mean, it's the style of wrestling that I appreciate the most, where not that they didn't take risks, not that they didn't, use up some notches on their bump card, and it wasn't a soft style match by any means, but I didn't feel that there were excessive physical toll was taken without a purpose that was really important to the story of the match. And so I have an appreciation for that, and these guys are just masters at that.
Man, I thought everybody looked really, really good, but it seems like that Tyler Bates, there's just something about that kid. He just has some kind of X factor to him, just the way he goes to deliver his shit, or the sense of urgency. I mean, Roderick Strong's right there, so is Trent Seven, but to me, that Tyler Bates was kind of the spark plug in this match, if you will.
I think right now, Kyle O'Reilly and Tyler Bates are in the ring against each other. It's my favorite matchup in professional wrestling right now. That includes New Japan. I mean, it's just everything. I'm at that point with these two, and Saturday solidified that. And part of it is just the way that O'Reilly, when he was applying a leg lock, just twisted and dropped to add accentuation to it before taking in Roderick Strong when they were working over the leg. Sometimes you think, well, okay, now they're going to work over the leg. That's when I can go get a cup of coffee, or go get, refill my water. If you're a fan, and you can't do that when you see that O'Reilly and Strong are going to work a body part, that's when you want to pay attention. And they reminded me, and I go back to my childhood watching the AWA, when Jim Brunzell and Greg Gagne would tag in quickly back and forth in the same corner, when they had the heel isolated in the corner, and Strong and O'Reilly were doing that. It just makes sense. I like when you can watch the match and get more invested in it, because it's not about setting up, spots that are going to get a "This is awesome" chant, but it's a real, when the matches, the story is told in a way that says we're trying to win, but we're going to make sure that we're doing it in a way that makes sense and is entertaining and looks legit. And that's what I loved about this match.
Yeah, I popped many times during the match, but it wasn't that they were trying to pop me. I was just popping on the things that they were doing, and their purpose was to build the match, and that's exactly what they did. And another thing I really enjoyed, because the Revival is one of my favorite tag teams as well, but both of these teams were working so fluidly together as tag teams. It wasn't aren't just two random guys thrown together on a tag team. Obviously, it seems like they've been working together for quite some time, or at least that's the way it came off to me. And this is coming from a person that doesn't have a whole lot of NXT experience. Man, I was extremely impressed with both teams, extremely impressed with the match. And so I don't know where they go from here, but it was an awesome match. And, man, they've got 4 great pieces of talent there that they can build on.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, it looked like Undisputed Era are positioned as baby faces with the War Raiders, formerly War Machine, attacking them afterwards. But going into the match, Undisputed Era, O'Reilly and Strong, I almost said Fish, were the heels. Adam Cole is part of that faction, a 4-person faction. And O'Reilly and Strong are teaming together because Fish got hurt. And so Strong took his place in that tag team. And he's a perfect fit. I mean, if you need a substitution, it worked really well.
Oh, man. Well, tell me about the War Machine, because I saw the run-in. Those guys looked impressive. Can they work?
Yeah. They were in ROH. They worked in Japan. And they're kind of like the new Authors of Pain or the new Ascension. I mean, they're good workers. They're good big man workers. And I think they got main roster potential. And so, they're absolutely worth keeping an eye on, and I'm glad they're going to get a chance to work against 2 smaller guys who can bump, because they need guys who can bump against them. And wow, O'Reilly and Strong are going to be able to bump for them really well. So this is going to be a fun next stage, because it's going to give O'Reilly, assuming it's O'Reilly and Strong and Fish isn't involved, but either way, it's going to give them a different type of opponent to work against. And that's great. I mean, I like when a great tag team fights a wide variety of different opponents, like Samoa Joe's ROH title reign. I think it's one of the great world title runs in American history. Not in terms of like blockbuster sellout crowds at MSG, but like facing this really wide array of opponents, all kinds of different styles, and just having each match be really good. So I'm kind of hoping that's what we get a taste of here with this.
What kind of feedback did you get on this match?
Really positive. Yeah, I didn't put up a poll like for best match of the night, but I suspect that the main event would get more votes. But this is a type of match that I know a lot of people who I get feedback from respect a lot.
Hey man, what was your thoughts on Velveteen Dream versus EC3?
It was okay, but disappointing. I think Velveteen Dream's better work. Velveteen Dream's a rising star. If anything holds him back, there's a chance it's going to be like maturity or judgment calls. I know that even going back to Tough Enough, there was a little bit of an issue with him, maybe not editing himself in certain ways. Triple H had some interesting things to say in the media conference call after TakeOver, saying, and I don't know if he's being serious or not, but he said he didn't know that Dream was going to put, call me Vince on his tights. And if that was something he did on his own without checking with the proper authorities, that might be a sign that he's not using the best judgment. Now, Triple H might have had his might have been tongue in cheek too, kind of playing off of it. But I think Velveteen Dream is amazing. I think he's just sort of a little bit of Rick Rude, a little bit of Randy Savage, Macho Man, a dose of Goldust, trying to throw opponents off a little bit by playing on their insecurities or sensitivities. And then obviously he's playing off a Prince. So at first I wasn't sure, and I don't even think Patrick Clark was sure about this in terms of being sure-footed and playing the character. He's growing into it. But this was, I think, by far, since he found his stride as this character, his least remarkable in-ring performance, because he's had some really good matches on previous NXT Takeover specials.
Man, I have just written down in my notes, just look at this guy. And, of course, I follow him a little bit in Tough Enough. But I just have, man, that the guy is athletic. It's a great gimmick. Man, there's so much room to grow that gimmick or that character. And he's bought into it 100%. So athletic, great gimmick. The kid's still very green, but he's very entertaining and he's a natural showman. Obviously, like you said, a lot of Rick Rude influences there. They lost the crowd a little bit during this match. The kid, he's a big time seller on some of the big moves. He'll arch his back. I mean, he kind of reminds me of The Rock in a way, just from the salesmanship of certain things. But man, for a guy that's, he's still pretty damn new to the business, but the gimmick is so over the top. I mean, the kid looks like a rock star.
Yep.
So, I mean, the sky, so whatever happens to him, and the sky's the limit for this guy because the gimmick is there, the character's there, he's totally in, and he just has star written all over him. So when he puts it all together, or continues to put it all together, I mean, we'll see what happens with this kid, but it's an outstanding gimmick. The match, it was a good back and forth match. EC3, he's a solid hand, great body. Guys work well together. Like I said, they lost the crowd a few times, but there in the end, Velveteen Dream goes over. It was a good, solid match. Both guys, EC3's got a great body, good-looking kid, can speak well. I mean, Vince likes all those things, so we'll see. As EC3 continues to get his feet up under him in the WWE system, how he progresses. But he's got a high upside too. Let's see if he reaches it.
And in fairness to the guys, there was actually a malfunction with the entrance ramp Titantron during the match, and fans did get distracted by that and were kind of chanting about it.
Okay.
So it did work against him. Now, that said, I still don't think this clicked on all levels. I think EC3 is quirky. Velveteen Dream is quirky times 2.
Yep.
And there hasn't been a chemistry with them, even in the skits leading up to it. And so to me, Velveteen was better playing off of Ricochet at TakeOver Chicago. Ricochet's an everyman, a regular guy. So I just think this was maybe a chance we're taking, but it turned out to be a miscalculation that this would be magic. And the other problem was EC3's being portrayed as a babyface, but people who watch the TV show every week never saw it turn, and it's been kind of like it was sort of like the frog in the frying pan. Suddenly we're supposed to cheer, but we're not sure why. And fans really like Dream, like he's their guy. So there was a miscasting in the sense that EC3 was playing to the crowd and not getting pops, and Velveteen Dream was trying to play the heel, but he was getting cheered.
Right.
And that just threw everything off, too. So EC3 will be better in other circumstances, and Dream will be better in other circumstances.
So, with that being said, I mean, both guys, to me, have great upside. But the Velveteen Dream thing, that could be lights out if that kid continues to improve.
What did you think of EC3, even if this is an unconventional circumstance for him?
No, dude's a solid worker, man. He's a good-looking guy, great body. He spends a lot of time in the gym. Solid mechanically. You can see still a little bit of the greenness in Dream. A lot of the clubbing blows to the back that he was doing, just a few that he did are kind of those glancing blows that just spell out green immediately when you see them. I used to do the exact same thing. I want to see EC3. I'd like to see him on the main roster. Kid's been around for a while. He knows how to work. It'd be interesting to see him in there because, like I said, I'm not familiar with a whole lot of the NXT stuff. I would like to see EC3 with a high-level worker, and then I could really kind of say, okay, here's what I think about the guy. But from what I saw, and these guys didn't have the greatest chemistry together, he's a solid hand. So I'd like to see what he could do with a badass worker to give you a little bit more input on him.
Yeah, I think EC3, NXT has a certain style to what they do in the ring. And I just don't think it's flattering for EC3. I don't think it's a good fit for him. But I do think he's really, and some guys who are great in NXT don't fit in on the main roster as well. I think EC3 is somebody who's going to fit in better working the main roster style. For better or for worse, however you judge it, EC3 is just a better fit. His personality is, and I think if he gets there soon, I think Vince will embrace him for the reasons you said. He's got a good look. He's very, professional in the way he conducts himself, and he knows his character. I mean, when he's the alpha on a TV show, and he's the eccentric one, not playing off of somebody else who's more eccentric. That's what he did in TNA, in Impact Wrestling, and he was the alpha, and he kind of owned the room. He can do that, and I think that's stuff that Vince really recognizes when you take control of the room when you're in it, and I think he'll do it better on the main roster.
What would you describe as the difference between the work styles in the NXT product versus the main roster?
NXT has more of an appreciation for, and it's the matches, and the matches, more than the promos, the matches are booked in a way to tell stories that are more athletic-based and appreciative of telling a story in the ring that's built around athleticism and oftentimes creative offense, but not necessarily like showboat offense, being what gets you to the top. And the main roster has a heavier ratio towards telling a story that has more to do with, I'm trying to stay away from some of the buzzwords, but sports entertaining the fans,
Right.
Bringing smiles to their faces, getting a facial reaction that's and it sounds like I'm selling them short, because what Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler are doing, or what Daniel Bryan and Miz even did, certainly Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, that's all, that would all fit into NXT too. But EC3 in particular is a good example because he just can't keep up with what Gargano and Ciampa and O'Reilly and Bate are doing. And it stands out more. And on the main roster, because they fill 2 and 3 hours of TV time and you're on every week, and it's about spending more time getting your personality over, and then that personality being a bigger part of the story of the match, that's where EC3 gets to shine. He has that breathing space. In NXT, he's working more of a Miz style, and I don't think Miz would work in NXT. The Rock wouldn't work in NXT. Rock would work anywhere, but you know what I mean? Like, his style is more main roster, and it would be a better fit. Whereas Daniel Bryan, of course, could work either place and get over.
Interesting. NXT North American title match, Ricochet defeats Adam Cole. I don't know if I've seen a better athlete inside the squared circle than Ricochet. I don't.
I agree. Again, I'll go to what Triple H said in the conference call, because it's similar to what I and others have been saying about Ricochet, which is the test for Ricochet is whether he can take that athleticism and make it look like he's fighting to win. And I really loved Hunter saying that, because I agree. Like, he talked about how, because Shawn Michaels is at the Performance Center now, and he said that Shawn and Hunter talked to Ricochet about not making the things that are easy for him to do look easy to do, because it doesn't look right when you're fighting. And Hunter just said specifically, it's supposed to look like a fight, not a dance. And that was always kind of my take on John Morrison. Great athlete, but he made everything look so easy. It looked like it was a dance or a performance and not a fight. Hunter said it should look like a grind. And he said Shawn Michaels could make things look easy that were difficult because he had such a gift. But so Shawn had to work hard making things look like they were difficult to do that weren't. So it looked like a struggle in the ring. And that is what Ricochet's challenge was in this match compared to his other performances. And I thought he accomplished it. And I think Adam Cole is a Shawn Michaels style worker. And I thought that he brought that out in Ricochet. And I thought Ricochet rose to the occasion. I didn't think it was the best match of the night, but it was a really good match. Yeah.
No, it was a really, really good match, and I really enjoyed it. And when I just look at some of the timing these guys are doing, you know, the super kick when, Jesus Christ, I guess Ricochet was coming off the second upside down doing a flip or whatever the hell he was doing. I don't know what to call half the stuff he does.
I know.
But just some of the timing aspects. And it kind of reminds me of the match. This was a different match, but it reminds me shades of when he worked with Will Ospreay. You know, that highly technical match where they were kind of going back and forth.
Yep.
So, I mean, this wasn't like that, but I mean, there's certain, those timing aspects are there. You know, Adam Cole, I mean, he's straight up pro wrestler kind of dude. Really good psychology, good looking kid, good promo, really smart to the business. I thought these guys really worked well together. And, you know, going back to your point about Ricochet making this look like a grind, you know, all you got to do is put in that Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain match, and you can see what the grind is. And if he can acclimate a little bit towards that direction, then I think, you know, he's going to increase his stock. I knew the kid was an awesome athlete from way back in the day when I started watching him on, I guess I first noticed him on Lucha Underground. But I wondered how his style would play into the WWE, you know, work set or skill set, because the kid's such an unbelievable athlete, just like that Will Ospreay kid. Not everybody's going to be able to do that kind of stuff. And to Triple H's point, and I agree, you do got to make it look like, you know, the struggle.
The move of the weekend was the springboard moonsault by Ricochet, and then Cole. Perfect timing. Kicks him in the chin and neck out of midair when Ricochet is upside down. I mean, I don't know how many times I've replayed that, but I gasp when I watch it, and it was just amazing. And then, these are the kind of the little things about what I like about O'Reilly and Bate, and Adam Cole has it too, is his immediate follow up. Like, it was just he immediately followed up with a move. I think it was a shoulder breaker on his knee or something, but it was just like, boom, he just used all that adrenaline rush from hitting that spot and went for another move and a pin. He didn't celebrate, he didn't showboat. You know, Cole is a heel, but he was working mostly a babyface style here, because I think that's where they're headed with him. And so they didn't want to, you know, they're kind of telling that story where it kind of earns the respect of the fans by working with Ricochet in a way that didn't have a ton of heel tendencies, but at the same time not take away from Ricochet trying to get himself over as a face. So yeah, I just thought this was a real good showcase for both guys. And Cole's been a little bit of a slower starter than some people expected, maybe some nagging injuries. And I thought this was I won't call it a breakout match for him, because I think he's already broken out. But as a one-on-one showcase of what he can do for people who only saw his NXT work, this wasn't just about Ricochet. This is also Adam Cole making a statement.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, for a guy who's working heel, when he does the old Adam Cole baby, and the crowd is in total sync with him a couple times during that match, I mean, he's pretty damn over.
Yes. Oh, totally. The only thing with him is he's shorter than average for the main roster, and also thinner than average for the main roster. I know Dolph Ziggler once, you know, said on some podcast interview, he's like, you know, I had a bunch of bulk weight, and I realized that's just making me look shorter. Like I can get wider, but it's not going to help me. I need to be great at what I need to be able to be great at what makes me stand out. And so he slimmed down a little bit, got more sleek, and I think he was right to do that, because then it helped him work better. And with Cole, he also was a little more bloated at one point, a little thicker, I guess is probably a better way to put it. And he slimmed down. I just worry that he's not just a notch below the threshold of what Vince will think is credible against other top guys if Cole plays a heel. But if Cole's a babyface, then that matters a lot less. And so I hope that they test the waters with him in NXT as a full-fledged babyface. Fans are cheering him anyway. The fan base that boos Roman Reigns, that type of fan that travels the world to go to WrestleMania and attends 3-4 nights in a row, those are the fans who already know who Adam Cole is, absolutely respect the hell out of him in the ring, but also connect with him on a personal level. And he can be that Shawn Michaels minus any baggage, any pretty boy stuff that sometimes worked against Shawn. Because it's crazy to think in the 90s there were some fans, hardcore fans, who were cheering Sid against Shawn, in retrospect. Cole can avoid all that, but he has all those other positives that Michaels had. So as a babyface in the main roster, I'm real high on Cole's potential.
Yeah, but just as far as body weight and height, how far off is he and Daniel Bryan?
Bryan's thicker now, but height-wise, it's not different. But look at what they did to Daniel Bryan, from a booking standpoint, because Daniel Bryan sort of got over by accident in those tag matches with Kane against the Shield on that house show run. And the crowds were just going bonkers, and it carried over to TV, and they just couldn't avoid it. So if Cole gets that kind of reaction from the fan base, I don't want WWE to go, well, this isn't convenient for us at this time because we have somebody else who's bigger and looks the part better on the Today Show who we were committed to. And so that, I just want, when Cole does show up there, and if he is a babyface, which I think he should be, embrace it and don't get in the way and create, don't create any obstacles, because I think he has a chance to really break out. But again, as a heel, I just don't think it works on the main roster, because you look at the babyface opponents he's working against, and for a variety of reasons, I think the chemistry won't be there.
Just great workers are great workers, and this kid's, he's awesome. He's really good. So we'll see.
And he's super, he's just a cool guy. He's the guy you want to have a beer with. You figure he's a guy who would be really, some guys are great athletes, but they don't connect, and Cole connects. There's that Shawn Michaels bravado and cockiness that he exudes, and he looks like he's happy to be there. That's such a big thing. He just looks like he shows up to work and he loves being there. And some guys sort of, they're naturally gifted, but you see that with some NBA draft picks. They're there for the money because they were told they're great their whole lives, and they sort of go through the motions. And Cole doesn't give off that vibe at all. And today's fan is going to recognize that, and that's going to work in his favor too. Yeah,
I wish those guys ought to look in the world. But sometimes, man, the height weight thing is a factor. Even going back to, when I came into the WWF years ago as a ring master, and then segued into Stone Cold. Like I told Vince, one time walking across the parking lot going to television taping, I said, hey man, why are you editing me? And I told him, long story short, I've told this story so many times, if you give me my personality, I can compete with anybody you got, because most of the guys you got here back in the day were, 6'10", 7 feet and over 300 pounds. Then I said, if you give me my personality, I can compete. He said, okay, Steve. That's when he turned me loose. So all of these guys, I never want height or weight to be a limiting factor on a guy. So I'm never going to say that. So everybody's got the upside. Let's see if they can reach it.
Absolutely.
Kairi Sane defeated Shayna Baszler. God dang, man. I don't know. I knew when they brought Kairi Sane in, I knew Shayna Baszler from MMA World. I knew Josh Barnett was working with her, but I hadn't seen really any of her work. And man, the intensity of this match, the way the story they told, the execution, the way they were laying their shit in, I was really impressed. And again, this was one of my favorite matches of the weekend.
I'm with you. I think this was one of the surprises of the weekend. The finish, I think, was a surprise. I suspected they're going to keep Shayna Baszler with the title. They've said they're going to, at the Evolution pay-per-view, they're going to have an NXT presence. I sort of imagined Baszler being there as NXT champion, maybe crossing paths in the hallway with Ronda Rousey as Raw champion to plant the seed and have her, stay strong in NXT. I was surprised by this. And I also, the story here was that that Baszler saw Kairi as soft and not having a killer instinct. And the last few weeks of TV, at the last tapings, they really told the story that she was getting that she was rising to the occasion. She hit 3 of her signature finisher elbows in a row, but she lifted her opponent's shoulders and then looked over at Baszler on color commentary and delivered more punishment. Kind of her way of saying, you don't think I have killer instinct? Yeah, I got some killer instinct, Shayna. And she stared her down. And it gave fans a reason to really get behind her here in Brooklyn on this show. I thought it was really good storytelling. And she's ready for it. I was watching the match and I was like, okay, Kairi's, kind of the opponent of the month, kind of the equivalent of, Hercules or something for Hulk Hogan. You know Hogan's going to win, but you got to tell the story, and it'll, she's a good opponent for Baszler to get sympathy on and beat. And then she won, and it worked, and I think fans bought her as champion. So I thought it was just a success. Baszler is so good, and she's a genuine wrestling fan. Like, she goes to indie shows. She it's in her blood, and it comes across. And she's improving on the mic, but she's just so good with her body language. I think I talked about it last week with you, previewing this, and it came across here. But yeah, they had better chemistry, Steve, than I imagined they were going to have.
Man, she just comes across as a killer out there. I mean that as a compliment. I mean, she looks like she has a mean streak. She knows what she's doing. She lays her stuff in it. She's very sound. Obviously, she's got a lot of catch wrestling experience from Josh Barnett and her MMA background. How long has she been down there in the system? Because I know she's not like a true veteran. No, she came in. I think it was at the Mae Young Classic was when she showed up, but she had been working in Stardom for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years before, probably 5 years before she came to WWE, and developed, good reputation there. So there was a lot of excitement about her. I think they've just paced it perfectly. They haven't belabored it. But yeah, I think she's been in the system like under 2 years. Yeah, because you can have, like I said, 5, 6, whatever years, outside, but now in the system. Man, she's I think she's 38. A lot of upside for both women. And, Shayna, she doesn't look 38. So, but she's so solid. I mean, she should be in that title picture for a long time. And then I've been pronouncing her name wrong, obviously, but Kairi Sane, man, I mean, that chick, damn good worker, good looking lady, tons of fire, great chemistry. It was a good story and a damn good match. It's one of the standouts of the whole weekend for me. She let out that barbaric yell after she applied her finisher, the anchor, but it was tied up in the ropes, and so she broke, and then she's like let out this barbaric yell, and it didn't feel forced, like, oh, I need to get the crowd into it, they're dead, and I'm going to try to get them back into it. I got a little sense of that with EC3. She let out the yell because I think she was feeling the moment, and people connect with that. And, I'm glad you brought that up about EC3 because I felt that too. I thought he was trying to force the issue because I didn't really know who was a heel or babyface, like I said, just due to my inexperience of watching NXT. And I got a feel that he was trying to force that crowd because he wanted more of a reaction out of that crowd a couple times when the bottom dropped out on him. Yep. And I think it's fine to do it. They just were in a tough spot. And I just put it, it was a tough spot. It was a tough spot they were both put in, yeah. Just like you said, I mean, when she let out that scream or that yell, I mean, there's a fine line or a thick line between that and pandering. That was not pandering to me. That was true emotion. There's a big difference. Yeah, I loved her celebration too. It reminds me of when my dog on a sunny day just rolls around in the grass and is just the happiest he ever is. He just rolls on his back. And she's just rolling on her back in the ring, holding the title belt, and she was just like, I accomplished it. And fans invest in the product, and they want to think the wrestlers, like, really, really, like, just once they win, it's like, this is what all my work is for, and just her glee and joy of being champion, I thought worked really well. Hey, man, what did you think about the last man standing match between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano? I thought it was great. I thought it was great. It was obviously very different kind of great than the opening tag team match, but it felt like it's weird, but I think that the follow-up, and I'm not the only one saying this, but it's crossed my mind, is I think the follow-up to this is William Regal ordering these two to settle their differences, and it goes full circle a little bit here, back to what we were saying earlier, in the ring, and if you step outside the ring, if your feet touch the floor, you're disqualified. We're going to have a wrestling match, not a brawl, not a fight to the death. I would love to see those two do that. I don't know what story they're going to tell next, but because this was an unexpected match because they were going to have Aleister Black in the mix and then he got hurt. So they had to pull him out of it. So in a way, it was a rerun of their last match, but I thought that they, instead of repeating things for the sake of just repeating them out of resignation that they have to do it again, I thought it came across as callbacks, but also altered strategies. In the end, Gargano's intensity and obsession cost him the match again. He went a step too far. He wasn't thinking clearly when he tried to take out Ciampa and ended up doing himself in. And that's the story. And at the next tapings, we'll find out in the next set of TVs, how does he respond when so many people are telling him he's gone too far down this road? Even his wife is saying, this isn't the man I married. And the fans are even not sure if they like this version of him. It's an interesting story and road that he's been on. And then, of course, Ciampa, I can't sing his praise enough. He was great here again.
just 33 minutes of a brawl that I didn't think ever slowed down. And I'm leery of last man standing matches because it's a challenge. How do you stop a match for 6 to 8 seconds and not just have the crowd kind of lose their, it's not as dramatic as a 3 count. And I thought they found really inventive ways to keep the crowd engaged during the counts, including how the guy on top was kind of selling the moment. So I just, big praise. It was a very close to the best match of the weekend.
Well, and we were talking about, this being the rubber match, and it's going to be hard to follow the other 2 matches, and last man standing matches can be extremely tough to work. I thought they told a great story. I love the jump start by Johnny. Then, they got into it. It was great work. And some of the great work involved all of the punches. I mean, man, it almost reminded me kind of like some of the old superstar Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler trade-offs. And if you've never seen any of those, go on YouTube and watch, some of their loser leaves town matches. I mean, those guys had 2 of the best punches in the business, and you just couldn't see any daylight. It looked like they were knocking the shit out of each other. There's just the punches in this match were spot on. The selling was awesome. The facials, everything they did, the story that they told. And one of the things that really, as the match kept moving along, it was always just like you said, it was always moving along. It never really slowed down and bogged. But if you watch a couple of times in there when Tommaso would just kind of go on offense or try to finish this thing, it was just that burst of energy and going through whatever he was trying to deliver to Johnny, which is like, oh man, here's that adrenaline spike I needed. They were coasting along. It was still moving, but here comes Tommaso with that burst of energy just within the execution of his offense. It's like, okay, here we go. And that revved me up and fired me up. I'm like, this is good shit. So man, shout out to both guys. I mean, I don't know how you would top a match like that. Here's the only thing that I heard a little bit of negativity about, and that was the handcuffs towards the end. And then, I'm looking at the match for what it was. I said on Twitter, I said, man, that was a pretty damn epic match. And it was. But a lot of people didn't like the finish. What were your thoughts on the finish? Some people thought it made Johnny look not so smart.
Why would it not make Johnny look smart?
I don't know. This is what I got in flack for the tweet that I posted.
Yeah, I mean, it was a callback to one of the previous matches, and the match was full of those. And, Gargano handcuffing. I think this is what people would be getting at, is because he handcuffed Ciampa was able, I guess, to drop off the ring apron and stay standing because his hand his hand was forcibly in the air, so it kept him standing when his feet dropped to the floor off the stage, whereas Gargano then did fall and it cost him the match. But that I don't think that's fair criticism because, Johnny was just trying to put him in a position where he could finish him off and put him in the cuffs to do it. So yeah, I didn't have a problem at all with the with that at all. I thought Gargano from that opening bell was fighting to win, but dish out punishment, and he never let up. It's my critique of the AJ Styles Samoa Joe. The first stanza of that match is like AJ, with all the stuff Joe said to AJ and his family and his daughter. I mean, he went for a collar and elbow. No, Gargano, like after all the things that have gone on between them in his obsession, he was like, to me, I want to handcuff this guy so he can't punch back, and I'm going to take him out. So I loved, I actually loved that aspect of it.
It was an outstanding match. I thought it was one of the best matches of the weekend. When I saw that tag match, I mean, that really got me fired up. I mean, I put both of these matches neck and neck just because of just the delivery of some of the offense done by the 2 tag teams. Man, it just really got me going this morning watching that match. But both of them were outstanding. Again, I love Ricochet and Adam Cole as well. And I love Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler, the Velveteen Dream versus EC3. What did you think of the event from top to bottom end?
I thought that the scale is so stiff when it comes to takeover specials. I thought this was in the 2nd out of 3 tiers, but it was a great show. And the reason I say that is I just think that EC3 Dream was a little bit of a letdown. I don't know. As I'm talking through it now, I sort of feel like it belongs in the top tier. But I think I've liked other takeover specials better, and since they only happen, 4 or 5 times a year or whatever, it's 6. There aren't so many of them, and they're all so good. So saying 2nd tier is still a high compliment. I thought it was 2 hours and 35 minutes is like the perfect length of time for a wrestling show. And every match had meaning. Every match felt important. Even if EC3 and Dream pulled it down a tiny bit, the first and last match were so good. And the other two really worked for what they were trying to do. So, yeah, I mean, this was a top tier event on really any kind of scale.
Hey, let's take a quick break here, Wade. And before we do, tell everybody where they can find you.
Thanks. Yeah. First of all, I do podcasts, 4 of them through the week. We'll be covering, you can actually download it right now, my post-show following Raw this week, the SummerSlam follow-up. Every Monday night, every Tuesday night, I do a live call-in show, and we post that available for download also Tuesday and Wednesday mornings, the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post-show. And then later in the week, on a separate feed, the other one has a red logo, the later week ones have a blue logo. My base is on both, can't miss them. I do the flagship, where we just kind of cover the whole week in the broad coverage of all wrestling around the world. And then I also have Interview Friday later in the week. So just search Wade Keller anywhere to find those. Also, we have a VIP membership where I do like a dozen more per week. It's just crazy. But we have our 75-minute SummerSlam roundtable with Todd Martin and Bruce Mitchell. That's available right now if you become a VIP member. We happened to start a sale last week. I'm offering it to Steve Austin Show listeners too. You can go to pwtorchvipinfo.com and enter coupon code Austin18. That's Austin18, no space. And that'll get you $9 off a $10 subscription. So it's $1 for a full month of VIP access, 30 plus years of archives of all my newsletter reports on every SummerSlam, all the big stories over the years, ad-free access to all our shows, over 100 podcasts per month, covering everything in wrestling, New Japan, ROH, everything. So go check it out. All the information on membership is at pwtorchvipinfo.com. And that coupon code Austin18 this week will get you 90% off a 1 month sub.
All right, let's take a quick pause for the calls and give big ups to TrueCar. Hey, man, here's some useful tips you might not be aware of. Putting your floor mat under your tires in the winter can help you get your car out of the snow. Removing excess weight from your car will improve gas mileage. And if you live in California, put your parking brake on whenever you park, every time. Are you ready for one more tip you might not know about? TrueCar also helps people get used cars. That's right. TrueCar isn't just for buying new cars. With their certified dealer network and nationwide inventory of nearly 1 million used cars, you'll enjoy real pricing on actual inventory and a simpler buying experience whether you buy new or used. And with TrueCar, users can see what others paid so they know if they're getting a good deal before buying. They're also more likely to enjoy a faster buying experience by connecting with TrueCar certified dealers. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, check out TrueCar and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features not available in all states. You're also going to need some car insurance for that used car. Go to geico.com and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. Oh, hell yeah. Football is back. Catch up on everything football with some of the best podcasts right here on PodcastOne Sportsnet. Join Coach Jim Harbaugh and his father Jack every Tuesday as they talk college football on Attack Each Day, the Harbaugh's podcast. Then get all your betting news from RJ Bell's Dream Preview, where each week he'll be covering all the college and pro matchups. And if that's not enough, we have the Dan Patrick Show, the Rich Eisen Show, and Wriggle's Picks with Rob Riggle and Sarah Tiana to help with all of your football needs. Don't miss out on everything football here on PodcastOne Sportsnet or wherever you listen to podcasts. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from muscle cramps in your legs and feet? Well, listen up, because relief is finally in sight. Theraworx Relief is a topical foam that is clinically proven to relieve muscle cramps fast, and with daily use, Theraworx Relief can even prevent muscle cramps before they start. The results speak for themselves. Theraworx Relief is the real deal. Theraworx Relief is a life-changing product, and best of all, you don't even need a prescription. It only takes minutes to apply. It absorbs quickly, and it really works. Get Theraworx Relief today at select CVS, Rite-Aid, and Walgreens Pharmacies, or at TheraworxRelief.com. That's TheraWorx Relief.com.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, we're back. We're talking about SummerSlam and the event at the Barclays Center. Wait, what's the sellout these days over there?
You know, they claimed they said NXT was a sellout at 14.7 or something like that. I thought they threw out a number of like 16 something for SummerSlam. So it's weird that NXT would be set up for would have more staging or whatever, but maybe they just blocked off more seats and still called it a sellout. But Yeah, I mean, it's a giant modern building. So, yeah, I mean, 16,000 change, I think, is the official number.
Okay, the first match of the night was Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler for the IC Championship. And Dean Ambrose was with Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre was with Dolph Ziggler. Man, this was a good match, and they had plenty of time in this match. I just thought maybe the last 8 minutes were pretty smoking. All the stuff before, you got these two are the best workers on the roster, in my opinion. So I thought everything was good, going up to the last, sequences. When the last sequences kicked in, that's when I really got interested into the match. I just thought, trying to tell a story, put in their time, working pretty much back and forth. And like I said, both guys are tremendous hands, but they really cooked it up towards the finish, and that's when I got excited about the match.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good start to finish, but I agree it ended on a strong note, which is good. The story of this match was Ziggler is IC champion because Drew McIntyre is helping him win. And Dean Ambrose showed up to offset that. And I really appreciate this match because this wasn't about having a show-stealing match in the opener to, that might burn out the crowd or set the bar too high, although it might be my favorite match of the night. There were, a few that were close. But they told the story, which is a lot of it was Dean Ambrose stalking around ringside, making sure that Drew McIntyre didn't interfere. And in the end, and I love it, it's a traditional babyface storyline, Seth Rollins is better than Dolph Ziggler when Drew McIntyre is offset by Dean Ambrose. And that was the story, and it should be, because Seth is, with all due respect to this resurgence Dolph Ziggler's had this year, Seth is way more important to WWE right now. He should be portrayed as better at the end of the feud, and he was. And I thought that Drew and Dean played their part really well, and they weave that story in throughout. But they also got the crowd woken up. Those three pre-show matches are just sort of there. It's just, they're not, it's not the wrestlers being positioned to do their best work. That's not their job. They don't want to burn the crowd out. People are still filing into their seats. So this is the true opener, and it got the crowd into it. I probably would have shaved 5 minutes off of it because, one, the show's so freaking long to begin with, at the end of the night, people are getting a little restless. But two, I just don't think it would have been worse knocking 5 minutes off it. And I think then there's a little more energy in the crowd for Brian Miz and Nakamura Hardy later on in the night. So to me, I just question, do you really need 22 minutes when you're the opener and you're not one of the top 2 or 3 matches at the end?
Gotcha. New Day defeats the Bludgeon Brothers by DQ SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Tell me about this match. Man, yeah. When you talk about this match, it was a good match. But god dang, when you just got finished watching that, I just got finished watching that NXT match between the Mustache guys and the Undisputed Era guys. I mean, that thing was just outstanding. So, man, this was, even though they were a day apart, it was a hard act to follow for me.
Yeah. I had the NXT tag match, 4 stars plus. I mean, I don't know if it was 4.25, 4.5, but it was up there. This match I had at, I think, 2.5. And I thought it was fine. I don't think every match needs to be the greatest that it can the greatest version of a match that it can possibly be. This was the second match on a show that was going to run, 5 hours. That said, the idea, Bludgeon Brothers just been beating the hell out of people, whether the bell rang or not. Some of their matches didn't even get started. They're beating up 3 jobbers. My problem is I felt that the structure of this match for the 10 minutes it lasted was New Day telling a New Day story, instead of the Bludgeon Brothers as tag champions working a match telling their story. And I thought it was sort of like, New Day, let's get our spots in so we can get crowd pops, as opposed to getting the Bludgeon Brothers over as killers. So the Bludgeon Brothers ended up kind of working New Day style, trying to keep up with them the way that Sheamus and Cesaro did and can. And to me, this should have been a clubbing, a battering. Bludgeon Brothers beating down one of the New Day members. They're fighting for the hot tag. They finally get the hot tag and they show fire. That's a story of this match. And instead, it sort of was like, I think New Day and the producer in the match just sort of said, well, let's let New Day do their stuff. And I wish this style of match was more about the Bludgeon Brothers. So it was fine. It was good, but it wasn't the story I think was the best story to tell.
What did you think about Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens? This was a lot shorter than I anticipated.
Yeah. I mean, I think by the end of the night, we'd understand it a little more watching it here. I think it hurt Kevin Owens. I mean, Owens just took some big bumps, got nothing, was treated like, Bobby Heenan, forced into the ring against the Crusher. Kevin Owens wasn't treated as a serious opponent, threat, or athlete. And I think it did damage to him. I know they wanted Braun to have momentum going into his announcement later in the night in the main event, but man, I don't think it's hard. I think it's hard for Kevin Owens to come back. It reminded me, Steve, of Edge and Christian when they would just get decimated by Undertaker, and I thought it took them 2 or 3 years to really kind of have that shed from the image that they're just not even in the league of the top guys. And they did, and they managed to come back from it, but it took a while. I thought this was a setback for KO, who's in his mid-30s. It's not like, he's got 10 years to then be taken seriously, or 5 more years before he's taken seriously. So I don't know. I think they booked it originally to play out differently, with the stipulation being if KO got Braun DQ'd, he'd get Money in the Bank. And I think they decided to put Braun in the main event picture in a different way, and they needed him to have the Money in the Bank. So they just decided to escape hatch from this match in what it was, like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I hope Kevin Owens can claw his way back to where he was. Hopefully they're booking him to get back to where he was. I'm a big fan of both guys and friends with both guys. But, man, with Braun, and, Braun's a big guy. But, Kevin Owens has been, in the picture for a lot of titles, held a lot of titles. And I just thought, man, he didn't get shit in. So, I don't know, I just wasn't a fan.
I mean, is there a way? Well, there is a way for Owens to lose, but lose in a way where he was his own worst enemy. Like, maybe fans think, well, Braun could have beat him the way that we actually saw him beat him. But instead, he loses because Kevin Owens does something kind of, foolish or stupid or cocky, right, and it comes back to bite him. And you're protecting him a little bit by doing that. And it just didn't seem like there was any concern at all for Kevin Owens. The focus was purely on Braun, and KO got steamrolled. I just don't. Kevin Owens can talk, and he can wrestle. I don't know how he talks and wrestles his way out of people remembering how he wasn't even in the league of Strowman on this night.
Yeah, I just didn't think Kevin Owens needed to get steamrolled because he's a top guy. And, obviously Braun Strowman is still green, but he's a top guy. They're grooming him for bigger and better things. But KO didn't need to get squashed in the process.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, but by the way, KO did a great job in doing what he was asked to do. I want to praise him for that. Absolutely. I'm down on booking, but man, he bumped so effectively.
Charlotte Flair defeats Carmella and Becky Lynch, and Carmella was the champion for the SmackDown Women's Championship in a triple threat match. Now, I think I was only in a couple of triple threat matches in my career in the WWE. I am not a fan of the triple threat. They are very hard matches to work. Yep. Basically, you got 3 people. It's hard to do, 3 people all the time, so inevitably, someone gets bumped. They get out for a while. They come back around. Someone else gets bumped. They go out for a while, and you just rotate. So you work through the matches, or you work through the match, and then everything falls into place, allegedly, or conceivably. That's what you want to happen. Anytime they start adding people, another person to the mix and turn into a triple threat, I'm like, Jesus, this is going to be a hard match. All the women, damn good. Carmella, probably the least experienced in the ring. Well, for sure the least experienced in the ring. Great character, though. So anyway, they're telling their story, and then all of a sudden the finish goes down. And then at the end of the match, I want to talk about this because just the psychology and people's reaction there in Brooklyn, New York, whatever you want to call it. Charlotte goes over. She's happy, obviously. Becky and her close friends, there's the big hug, and then just that big-ass right-hand slap, and then more devastation from Becky Lynch, and she blows the roof off the place. She's turning heel and gets a babyface reaction. Talk to me about your thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, they had to see it coming, but it also was a massive miscalculation that they could book around it. This isn't just Brooklyn. I mean, Becky Lynch is such a likable persona. She's like kind of Daniel Bryan-esque in that I'm not sure that Vince McMahon looks at Becky and goes, well, why would people cheer her more than Charlotte? I don't think that's my Vince, but I don't think that Becky checks the boxes that Vince looks for. He just kind of tilts his head why is she so over? And she is. And it's undeniable, and the fans were not going to boo Becky. It's sort of like when they tried to turn Daniel Bryan with the Wyatt family, although there he was brainwashed or something, so there was sort of an excuse for Bryan acting differently. But nobody's going to look at Becky as being wrong. The build-up to this match was Becky earned a one-on-one shot against Carmella after years on the comeback trail. And then Charlotte comes back from injury, and Paige grants her an opportunity. Charlotte earned it. It's not her fault. If you get promoted at work and you think the guy sitting at the desk next to you maybe deserves it more, You don't necessarily turn it down. Okay, I guess I'll take it. That's sort of how Charlotte was. I'm going to fight my hardest. It's a championship match. But the fans sort of looked at Charlotte like, you should have stepped aside. You should have. You should have said, I want my title shot later. Let Becky have the one-on-one match she's earned. And I think the booking caused some unfair resentment of Charlotte, who I don't think fans have any dislike for. But they dislike that Becky had her odds of winning using WWE math go from 50% to 33%. And so, yeah, the finish backfired. And the idea of turning Becky heel in order to try to clear the deck for Charlotte is like what happened with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. And fans remember that. And I think Charlotte will be the victim through no fault of her own if they stay on this course. I think they have to change course. Becky's great. And the crowd reaction is an indication they should change course if they had any intent going into this night to have her be a heel coming out of it. Fans won't put up with it.
Coming out of the go-home of Raw, I thought they'd kind of spun it to Becky had a real good chance of winning the title. And that was a setup. Charlotte ends up winning. Becky turns heel. I'm a fan of all the women in this match, but I love Charlotte as a heel. Becky, I think, is she's a good babyface or heel, but she's that fiery, individual that people just really love. So I'm wondering if they'll take her as a heel. And I thought Charlotte was very effective on the sell job, just kind of sitting there on her ass. I mean, just I don't know, awestruck or dumbfounded or just devastated of what had just happened to her. So I thought her selling on the back end of that was very strong and very effective.
In retrospect, I think if they had called an audible in the moment or maybe even planned for it, when they went to Charlotte, on the other side of the announce table or in the timekeeper, or wherever it was that she just ended up, in a pile. Yeah. And she sat up and she was crying and they did the close up. I think it was meant to be a sympathy shot, but in retrospect, I think it would have given people chills if she would have just all of a sudden had this little sinister grin at the very end that she was trying to hold back but came out. I'm champion and Becky's not, and she just beat me up and I'm hurting, but I'm champion and she's not. Like, if the goal, if they decided we want Charlotte to be heel and Becky to be face, that would have been kind of a cool moment to just have Charlotte reveal herself for being phony all along. And yeah, she took a beating for it, but she looks at her title and just gets a sinister little grin on her face.
Let's take a break here for a minute because I've been thinking here. Why can a car park itself these days, but we have to drive across town to take a test drive if we want to try out a new car? Why can we get approved for a mortgage in lightning speed, but buying a new car takes an entire day? And why is that space between my seat and the center console so darn tight? Well, our friends at Hyundai have wondered about all those things that are making it all possible now with the all-new Shopper Assurance that includes transparent pricing for convenience. Because knowing the price is always better than guessing. Flexible test drive that comes to you. Custom fit to a preferred time and location for added convenience. Streamlined purchase for efficiency, where you can fill all your paperwork out online. And 3-day worry-free exchange. Car buying made easier. It's possible with Hyundai Shopper Assurance. Visit HyundaiUSA.com/Shopper Assurance for all the information.
Can I say one thing about Carmella? I thought this was her best match. Like, I thought she's always had the personality aspect down. But I didn't think she looked like she didn't belong in the ring with Becky and Charlotte. Like, I thought that her moves looked better, and her timing was better. And I mean, give a shout out to her. I don't know if she worked really hard to be better or what, but it came through.
I agree with you as well. And also, man, I can speak from experience. When I worked with people that were better than me, they elevated me. And so I think Charlotte's a hell of a hand. I think Becky's a hell of a hand. And I think they elevated her. I mean, she's a person that obviously she's very proud of what she can do and is striving to improve every single day. But she had the least experience, in-ring experience of the women in the match. And I thought they raised her level, and she raised her level as well. So, yeah, I agree that probably was her best performance, because a lot of times there's a lot of telegraphing, and you can kind of see the hesitation or the gears turning. And that's, hell, when I was green, I was doing the exact same thing. So I speak from experience when I say I've been where she is.
Yeah, yep.
But speaking of two guys who are not green, Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, to me, everybody knows I'm a huge Samoa Joe fan as well as AJ Styles. Still, both continue to be amongst the best workers in the world. And AJ went in as a champion and wins by DQ. Obviously, AJ's wife was a big part of this match. Samoa Joe on the horn. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about NXT, the start to this match. These guys can never have a bad match, and it's always interesting for me to watch them work and see what they're thinking and what they're doing. But man, just as far as the start of this match, if someone's going to grab the horn and talk about my wife like that, there's going to be a different start to that match.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. And I mean, I know they had, we're filling close to 25 minutes and pacing yourself and all that. I get that. I thought it made AJ look weak. It gets talked about all the time, but when Bernard Shaw in that debate back in like 88, I'm dating myself here, asked Michael Dukakis, if your wife was raped, would you want the death penalty? And Michael Dukakis wasn't even shaken emotionally by the question. He's like, well, very logically speaking, I legally believe this. And people are like, is that guy human? And they thought that was a big moment and that cost him and that changed the polls as he seemed too calculated, not emotional. AJ's he was good at in the hype, talking about it when the bell rang. He's like, all right, collar and elbow time for all those things you said about your wife. I want to prove I'm stronger than you. I was like, what? I just didn't. So, I mean, and you've been you entered matches with very different backstories over the years. And I assume that played a big part in how you kicked off a match. I'm always fascinated, by the first 2-3 minutes of a match. I think that's the hardest part, that. For me, I think even more than a finish is how do you start a match that fits the story, gets the crowd into it, but doesn't set you up for failure later. Carmella and Charlotte and Becky had that awkwardness at the beginning where they just stood and stared at each other okay, how do we pair off? And that was weird. With AJ Joe is another thing. But I mean, I assume that a lot of thought goes into that when you're working. What are our circumstances and how should I start this match or how should you start it?
Yeah, I just look at this match. I mean, it was a damn good match. Bottom line, it was a damn good match. But man, to set that hook, the crowd was, they started coming at the end, but they could have grabbed them. I thought, just looking at the match for what it was and me sitting here, being an armchair quarterback, man, you jump that match, you grab them by the throat right off the bat, you go hard for 3 minutes, and then, have AJ stop himself, Samoa Joe stop him, and then you settle into the grind that is the work. But just to start off, man, I mean, that's such a personal issue that it just warrants a jump start. And that's my opinion. You got to jump that thing, get the people involved. Hey, dude, if you don't give a shit that someone's talking shit about your wife, why should I?
Yeah. Finn Balor did what AJ should have done. When Balor came out later against Baron Corbin, that's how I expected AJ to start this match. Just waiting for that click on the leash to be unleashed when the bell rang so he could just bombard him and smother him. And so I think all this storyline buildup in it, I think the crowd is whoa, okay, this is different than we thought. Obviously, it was just a good match on its own merits in a vacuum. I mean, Joe and Styles are great, and Joe is I mean, he's one of the best heels in the business right now, and what he's doing on what he did on the kickoff show with his promo, he's so good. I love the Joe that's not yelling and frothing at the mouth, because very few people can talk slowly and deliberately and hold my attention more than Joe can, and he stands out by talking softly and having that swagger to his voice, and that just, and as good as he is, I can't cheer him after what he says and the way he talks. It's not that kind of heel who's cool and you want to cheer him. So it's super effective. But yeah, I mean, this Joe, I'll say this. I thought Joe approached this like somebody who's hungry because he's getting the best chance he's had on the main roster. And I love AJ, and he's the great top guy of his generation. I think he's wrestling and working this feud like he's been here for a few years. And not slacking by any means, but I just feel like Joe's looking at this. This is my one, this is my chance to really have the spotlight. And AJ approached it I want to be AJ and be great. But I think Joe came across hungrier, and I think that can work against the crowd reactions that they're going for if it continues that way. And obviously they're going to continue because of the DQ finish.
Now let me put this out there. I did enjoy the way they started the match, just from a match standpoint.
Oh yeah.
If you subtract the promo stuff from Samoa Joe about AJ Styles' wife.
Totally.
The start to the match was great. I like the story that they were telling, with the kicks and, AJ goes down and, man, Joe is a force to be reckoned with. But with that mic stuff, hey, man, me, and who am I to tell AJ, who's a phenomenal worker, no pun intended, and one of the best in the world, as is Joe, how to start their match. But just me, and that was kind of the Stone Cold mantra. Damn near every time me and The Rock started a match, hell, in 2 out of 3, if not all the WrestleManias I headlined with, it was a jump start. I know 17 was, I know 15 was, and that's me speaking. And me, man, I hit a red line fast, and then we could settle into a fast pace. These guys were putting in the time, but you can't always work like you're gonna put in that long of a time, because you can get that crowd invested by thinking, hey, man, this summit's going to be over quick. These guys are going hard. Then slow it down and then get them invested. I go to Jerry the King Lawler, one of my favorites of all time. His intensity when he started some of his feuds with superstar Bill Dundee or anybody else, he was able to just do a collar and elbow lockup after all the shit they'd been through and tell his story. So, he was very effective and successful. These guys told a great story, had a great match, and it was certainly enjoyable to watch. That's just me kind of nitpicking.
Yeah, and maybe there was a promo that I missed, but I think they should have, underlined it, where AJ just said, Joe, the way I'm going to keep my title is I'm not going to let you get under my skin, and I'm not going to sell it, and I'm going to show you that I'm secure with my family, and you can try to push my, like, if that was a psychology in somewhere I missed it, I would say the announcers needed to underline it more. Then I apologize that I don't think that was there, and I think that could have made this approach work. That's all that said. I thought the finish was fantastic. If you're going to do a DQ finish with a babyface champion, there's no heat on AJ for taking the cheap way out to retain his title. Joe stood on that table and brought his daughter into it, and a bloodied AJ just exploded. And so whatever I don't like to say the word nitpicking, because we're just trying to evaluate things and all that. But if for whatever effect the beginning of the match had, that might have been negative. I thought by the end it was forgotten, because I thought AJ going up to his wife and daughter and the love and concern he showed afterwards and how he reacted to Joe in that moment when he snapped was great. And I very much look forward to how Joe responds on SmackDown on Tuesday.
Yeah, and that being said, maybe with that being the payoff for the way the match was ended, but you still could have jumped it. But he knew that explosion was coming at the end. He knew what we didn't, and so maybe that's why they played the route, or went the route that they did. Just as far as AJ Styles' wife, just as far as being on the receiving end of having to listen to the promos that Joe was cutting, she played it straight up. Didn't roll her eyes. Didn't oversell it. She was perfect in the capacity that she was needed. She didn't oversell it. She didn't do anything crazy. She was just low key, and I think that's the way a normal person would have played it. So I thought she played it perfect.
And I thought Joe played it perfect afterwards, fuming on his way up the ramp after the match, as if being mad at himself because his plan backfired, but also mad at AJ because he pushed AJ so far that AJ snapped and cost Joe a chance to win the title. Yeah. And so he's got these mixed emotions, and so he's just fuming and walking back. And you can just it's not over yet. And Joe's been so good on the microphone lately, and AJ's been really good in response to Joe. This was stage one of this feud. I'm glad it's not a one-off. I'm glad AJ is still champion. I like long title reigns. If Joe ends up winning a Hell in a Cell or wins a title, I'm not against it. But I'm also not against AJ holding the belt long enough to feud with Daniel Bryan or a heel Randy Orton or post-superstar shakeup, some new opponents or call-ups from NXT. I'm just glad Joe's getting a chance to fight AJ on the main roster, and there was a TNA chant during the match. Like, that was fans going, you guys have been doing this a long time. And I think it was sort of a tip of the hat to say, we're glad you get to do it in New York on a show of this magnitude, because that is a match and a feud that deserved this sized audience. And AJ and Joe are still at the top of their game and can still go out there and do 4 stars and tell a great story, and they did.
Talk to me about Miz and Daniel Bryan. The Miz goes over on Daniel Bryan.
The story of the match is Miz was there's all kinds of stories in the match, years in the making, but Miz was copying Bryan's style, his signature moves, claiming them to be his own, or antagonizing Bryan when he couldn't do anything about it. And Bryan came in and one-upped him every step of the way using his own signature moves that Miz had been stealing from him. So that was weaved into the match, and I like that. I will say I just don't think the emotions of the crowd were there, and I don't think a video wall went out. Like, I don't think there was an excuse for it. I think Bryan has cooled off a little bit, and I think Miz, and it's weird, but I think the reality show Miz and Maurice, it's doing good numbers, and like Miz is like really likable on the show, and Maurice is really likable, and they're new parents, and they're endearing, and I just like Tommaso Ciampa is such a consistent heel. And it allows fans to chant, whatever it was, like F you at the beginning, as he walks out to the ring. With Miz, I think people sort of have mixed feelings about him. They sort of like him as their, long-standing sports entertainer who seems like a nice guy who works hard. And I think that undercut where they were a couple years ago on this feud, so I think that worked against Bryan. I think some people say, well, Bryan's cooled off. I think Miz is just warmed up to the fan base that at one time really resented him and loved Bryan. And I don't think the Total Bellas reality stuff has helped Bryan either in the same way that I think it's helped Miz and Maurice. So I don't know. I'm still trying to decode what quite didn't work. But Steve, did you sense that the crowd was just like frenzied into Bryan beating up Miz? Because I thought it was a notch short of what we would have thought 6 months ago this would be.
So much history there, and then this match happens. I kind of agree with kind of what you're saying. I mean, it's kind of hard to not respect what the Miz has done in his WWE career. He's got his new show. It's successful. But, I mean, that guy's a grinder. He tries to be a heel, but he's so damn entertaining. It's hard not to like the guy after he's been doing it for so many years. And, Daniel Bryan's still Daniel Bryan. I just thought it was kind of, tit for tat, maybe just a little more physical at the beginning. But, I don't know. It just seemed like the crowd wasn't invested in as much as in the match as I thought they would be.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, we can critique and try to figure out what kind of didn't work. What might not have worked is that we're 4 hours into it, and you've still got
I think that was a huge part of it because, there was, just as far as the match goes, it was an extremely solid match. But there was nothing that jumped out, nothing jumped out at you about the match. It was just kind of steady. And you had your explosions and your ramp ups as far as, guys delivering offense, but it might have been a little bit of crowd fatigue.
And like, I know Daniel Bryan, it stands out to me. He was like, nobody wants to look at the format sheet for Raw and see that they're out there in the third hour, 2.5 hours into the show. Nobody wants that spot. Everybody wants the first hour, or, first half of the show. And I think they probably looked at the format sheet and probably looked at each other and were like, okay. There's prestige in going on late in the show, and they had certainly a prestigious position to a degree, but maybe it would have hurt. I assume they kind of didn't put them out later because they wanted the crowd to have some downtime to recover in time for the Ronda match and the Lesnar match. So Shinsuke Hardy kind of had that spot, and Valor Corbin was kind of the quick, little burst of energy, but not exhausting. I understand the match order, and I'm not even disagreeing with it, but I think what was best for the show was not best for Bryan and Miz, in that had they opened the show, I think it would have been a different story, and then Ziggler and Seth would have faced the challenge if they flipped those two matches around. I might have done that, though. Ziggler-Seth is not a first match between these two. They've had their chance. I would have maybe put Miz and Bryan out there first because the crowd would be fresh, and it's their first battle. So that would be maybe my one critique in terms of match order with 2020 hindsight. But again, this is a borderline 4-star match. It was really good. One of Miz's better matches. No short change. There's nothing about their effort or their execution that I'm critical of. It's really analyzing the circumstances that led to a fatigued crowd or a crowd not reacting to Bryan like they certainly would have had this match taken place, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. It was a very, very solid match, but just the way it played out, it was what it was. And
yeah.
So anyway, Finn Balor defeats Constable Corbin, and not very in a not very long time.
This is a disgrace, Steve. Baron Corbin deserves better than this.
Where do they go from here? What does it say?
They wanted to reheat up Finn Balor, and they had him come out as a demon, and he dominated. I thought Baron Corbin had the excuse because he's a suit heel playing a kind of a comedic role. I think they want him to be a title threat in the heavyweight division, and I don't think they're writing him off as far as that goes. But I think that this was Corbin antagonizing and needling Finn Balor for his size, kind of like Big Cass did to Daniel Bryan. Baron Corbin snickered in the pre-show and the kickoff show when he says, I think Finn will come up short tonight. And then he kind of snickered. So the idea was, give the fans a happy ending, because they didn't get it with Miz and Bryan in theory. They didn't get it with AJ. Well, they sort of got it with AJ, but I mean, technically Joe won by DQ. They didn't get it with Charlotte Becky, whether that was predicted or not by management. I don't know. They got it with Strowman. They got it with New Day. And they got it with Seth. So they had some babyface finishes early in the show, but then some heel wins later. So when you look at the finishes, maybe part of this was designed to just give the fans a chance to cheer a decisive win from a babyface that they like, and maybe re-energize the crowd with the unannounced Demon entrance. So I get the rationale for it, and I mean, I'm fine with it. This did not need to be longer than 2 minutes, given the length of the show and how many matches were on it.
Should Finn Balor come out as the Demon from now on?
Yeah, I mean, logically he should, because he wins when he does. But that's sort of like saying every NHL team should play like it's overtime in Game 7. You can't. It's unsustainable. So if the idea is, but they have to tell the story, that being the Demon and being that intense is something that Balor just can't do every time. Like, it takes too much out of him. He saves that adrenaline for when he needs it, and Corbin called for it to happen. Then I think it makes sense for him not to do it. I think if he comes out as a Demon all the time, it loses some of its luster. I like the idea of, the David Banner Hulk up thing, where it's just like, you won't like me when I'm angry. And Balor's good enough. I don't think he should have to be the Demon all the time. Plus, he's really charismatic when they're not undercutting it. He's really charismatic as just Finn Balor.
Agreed. He's a good-looking kid. I like him. Great worker. The Demon is pretty special, so why do it all the time? And like maybe you said, you can't do it all the time, but either way, it's very effective. And I don't know.
Yeah, I like Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was really good at this and that. He was looking at the ref going, this isn't what I signed up for. This is not what we agreed on. You want that heel to be in a panic over a babyface outsmarting him. And Corbin did a good job, and I think fans were more satisfied with him losing the way he did because of that.
Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy. Shinsuke goes in the champion. He retains. United States Championship on the line. This was a tough one.
3 years ago, you'd have been like, U.S. title match, third from the top on SummerSlam, Shinsuke Hardy. Transport me in a time machine. I want to be there for it. And when the bell rang, and when the entrance music started, I think fans were like, oh yeah, there's still this. We forgot about this before Ron and Roman, because it was such a long weekend for a lot of them who went to Takeover and a long night already. Yeah, I mean, I think they knew it. I think they knew that this was not, they had 11 minutes and the crowd was exhausted, and the two main events were coming up, and Bryan and Miz, had a long match, a couple matches earlier. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not knocking the match. It was a nice TV match with a couple excessive Hardy bumps, like that, the bump on the, Hardy just doesn't need to be doing that at this point. Some of the stuff he's doing. And I felt bad for how he might feel the next day and how little it mattered by the end of the night. When he crashed onto the ring apron, that was scary. And I just, with all the beatings Hardy's taken, he doesn't need to do it. He's got the crowd without having to do those spots now. I know he just feels like it's, he's driven to do it. It's what brought him here, but this wasn't the time for it.
Yeah. And then, getting deep into the show, just to me, the crowd was not there.
No, definitely not. And I mean, it was, like when Hardy imitated Nakamura's mannerisms, the crowd, kind of laughed. But I think people also were thinking Randy Orton's a big part of this storyline. He's probably going to come out. So this match isn't about Hardy and Nakamura. We're at the tail end of that. Now this is about where Randy Orton fits in. And so I think that worked against the crowd investing in the battle between these two also. But I mean, yeah, when Hardy delivered a twist of fate for a 2 count, the crowd just didn't respond. And, to the move or the kick out. And you're just like, you know what? These shows are too long. I mean, it's not fair to the workers and what they're sacrificing to be having, shows that go 5 hours.
Dude, it's a tough spot to be in because, I mean, going back to my days, way back in the Stone Ages, hell, I don't know how long our shows were, but they weren't near this long. No,
they're 3 hours. There wasn't a pre-show, and
no.
There was Sunday Night Heat for a while, but I mean, yeah, this is just different. It's so weird because Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, they're all trying to figure out how to make their game shorter. The Oscars, we're kind of done. We're going to be 3 hours, not 4. Everybody knows that you serve your audience better in this era, especially with shorter shows, and WWE's just racking up the engagement hours on the network at the expense of the wrestlers and the efforts they're putting in, and at the expense of the fans who pay big money to be there. And I know, I'm not denying that some fans are like, give me 5-6 hours, I love it. I mean, I get that there are some fans out there, but overall, in the macro, it's counterproductive and exhausting. And you want the crowd to be hot for everything you do, and Takeover is that contrast the night before of how well it works when a show is just the right length.
Man, let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship match between Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss. You know, going back to our preview of SummerSlam, I said this may be a difficult match because, you know, as far as experience factor goes. And, you know, it didn't need to be a long match, you know, either, but it was a fairly short match, and it was pretty one-sided. And it's kind of what I expected. What did you expect out of this match? What did it deliver to you or the people that you talk with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Rousey should be selling for Bliss at this point with what they have planned for Ronda. Bliss is great. I mean, she's such a great character. But credibility-wise in the ring, if you start having Ronda Rousey go even Steven with Bliss, it doesn't make any sense. So I think having Ronda win decisively and cleanly in, you know, around 3 minutes was the right finish. And Rousey is still kind of herky-jerky in her movements, but it's herky-jerky in a way where it looks like what she's doing is intense and real and comes from another world. And I think Rousey feels special because of that. You can look like you come from another world and not fit in. I think she embraces Roddy Piper and is like just happy to be there. I mean, I think fans know she loves clocking into work, and she takes what she does seriously. So overall, I thought it worked, but I thought that they had some limited tools to work with. I don't think, again, you know, we keep saying it, but at this point in a long evening, I don't think it made sense to just have Bliss stall for 7 minutes or cheat and beat down Ronda a little bit through nefarious means just to draw the match out. I mean, I think the money in Ronda is keeping her special and having her win. That's how she became famous, was winning quickly. And then you had Alexa Bliss with the double joint aspect of her that helped them sell Ronda's submission. So I think mission was accomplished. And Ronda, with some mixed feelings, I think Ronda is absolutely on the course, on one of the best case scenario courses when they signed her, and her reaction from fans continues to be super enthusiastic.
It's going to be interesting to see where they go with Alexa Bliss from here, because she's very effective as a heel, but I think the people want to like her. It'll be interesting to see, you know, when and if they turn her baby, because when they turn her baby, I think she's going to have a monster run.
I mean, Alexa, it's a little ways down the road. But Alexa,
I'm not saying do it tomorrow. I'm just saying, as I'm looking out on my computer screen and Ronda's in the ring and she's standing, you know, outside the ring. I see money in her, and whether it's heel or baby, but I see a monster run as a baby for that young lady.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I think Bliss as a babyface against a heel Charlotte is big money. You know, like
a heel Charlotte.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Shayna Baszler as a heel against Alexa Bliss. Yeah. Alexa Bliss using her wit against bully heels and the fans. I mean, because Bliss has shown herself to be like super cool,
super charismatic.
So yeah, and like on her podcasts and stuff that she's done, I mean, it's just like she totally connects with wrestling fans in a way that can be absolutely marketed. So, yeah, I thought it was a cool moment for Natalya, too, after what happened with Jim Neidhart, you know, her dad. And I thought it was cool coming out in Jim's jacket and having that moment to just have the fans kind of applaud her, but also the legacy of her family and her dad. And that was, I thought this was a good setting for that to happen. It felt like the right circumstance and right timing. You
know, when Ronda was kind of, you know, asking the people, hey, do you want to see me new women's world champion now? You know, she's kind of narrating through the match. And, you know, she's a very aggressive person, you know, in the ring or in the octagon. And I was just watching her do this, and I'm thinking, man, if they ever, and I don't think they'll do it for a long time because she's still learning the ropes. She's very green, but she's pretty damn over. And she's done awesome in every match she's had so far. But down the road, if you turn her heel, because I mean, she has a natural mean streak, and on the other side, she's very beautiful and very charismatic, and she loves the business, and she's very genuine. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse because she's still learning the business first and foremost, and learning how to be a baby. But man, if you ever flip her heel, that would be something. And the potential matchup she could have with Shayna Baszler, those could be super intense.
Kairi Sane. I mean, like, there's Bailey as an underdog babyface, Sasha Banks as a babyface, Becky Lynch if they keep her strong and build her up. I mean, yeah, it's a long list of babyface opponents trying to take out Ronda Rousey. If you not that she needs it, but if you had Ronda Rousey managed by Paul Heyman, and Paul gets, turns Ronda against what everyone thinks Ronda stands for, against the memory of Roddy Piper and all that, and Heyman's cutting promos, and you just line up the baby faces and just print money.
Hey, last match of the card, Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar to become the Universal Champion. Take it away, Wade.
Vince McMahon was genius here. I mean, this was so smart. If you take, it doesn't necessarily change anything the day after SummerSlam. You've still got the same Roman Reigns, the same strengths and weaknesses, same problems, same opportunities, whatever. But for that night, to get out of a bad situation in New York with a crowd that has spent months anticipating the opportunity to hijack a match that they resent, and then Vince throws a bucket of water on it by having Braun Strowman come out and say, WWE. I mean, this is me translating what Braun didn't say but was really saying. Hey fans, I know you want to boo this match, but the Vince McMahon knows what you want, and they know you want me. And no matter who wins, you don't like either of them, I'm going to walk out with this belt. So calm down and relax. We're going to give you a happy ending. All is well in the world. And then he doesn't give it to him, but he cuts the show off before anybody realizes it. And then when the show goes off the air, that's when the fans start booing, realizing Braun's not going to cash in. Honestly, I mean, it was just genius. It was somebody emailed and said, "Is Vince a Jedi master?" Like this was brilliant. It was perfect given the circumstances that they had. I admire the hell out of him. I don't know what's next. I'm genuinely excited for it. I am a big fan of Roman Reigns. I am not a big fan of him as a John Cena, Steve Austin, Rock, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan babyface. I just don't think that's the proper casting for him. We'll see what happens next. I don't know. If they're doing Roman against Braun, they clearly know Roman's going to be booed. So they're not fighting the headwind in that case. I'm excited for it. But Steve, did you have similar thoughts that I did watching this?
Yeah. I thought you summed it up better than I could, say in my own words. So I think you summed it up very nicely. I just think for what it was, the action that did happen before it was over, because it didn't last very long, I enjoyed the match. I knew they were in a tough spot. Like you said, Roman came out really nice on the, he wins, but they popped when he won. It could have went the other way, but the way they had it set up, like you said, they came out of this thing smelling like a rose. And so who knows what's on the backside or moving into the future with Roman. And I guess Brock will go, to fight in the MMA or whatever. I don't know what his deal is. Strowman is in the picture. I love the physicality with Brock and Strowman. I love, getting beat with the briefcase and then chucking the thing up the damn ramp.
That was crazy. That was perfect.
It was
I
great.
didn't know it could fly that far. Yeah.
But, dude, they popped pretty damn big for Roman. So, man, they really made the most out of that situation that they could, in my opinion, and the way you articulately put it.
Well, and I want to compliment Reigns and Strowman and Lesnar. They all they played their part really well. I mean, the Strowman was strong, looked strong, even though he got beat down. He absorbed those chair shots. There's sympathy on him. I thought when Roman pinned Brock, Brock selling for Roman's early Superman punches, it was like he was in the octagon getting punched. I mean, like Brock staggering and trying not to drop, lose his footing, but stumbling. Brock was great. His facial expressions during Brock's speech before the match was great. I thought Roman's facial expressions played to his fan base, which is, oh crap. He almost looked like he was going to, emotionally, he was going to, break down a little bit. This is my moment. It was sort of, like a Becky Charlotte thing. So I think his fans, it emboldened his fans to cheer for him, or that was the goal, at least on couches at home. But in the end, Reigns was pinning the guy, Brock Lesnar, who just beat down the guy the fans like the most with the chair, Braun Strowman. They're cheering Lesnar getting beat up more than Reigns being the guy to beat him up. And the fans are popping for the idea that now Braun is going to beat Reigns. That's what's brilliant about this is the pop was, yes, the belt's off Lesnar, because now it's finally back in the hands of WWE and not this guy who doesn't defend it often enough. That's a story WWE's been feeding, and fans bought it, I think rightfully so. But Reigns spearing him and pinning him, yeah, some Reigns fans are happy. Some people are popping because I got to see history for a title change. But part of it was, now we're going to see Braun kick Reigns' ass. Like, I think some fans were still thinking that was going to happen. I mean, I was thinking, well, they beat Braun down with a chair and threw the briefcase away. They're going to delay this, and it was brilliant. And fans are going to be mad, but they're not mad yet. And they weren't. And then Reigns, I thought, celebrated great. Like, I loved Reigns trash talking Heyman afterwards, and just leaning over the top rope, like, oh yeah, it was just like, you know, after spraying him with pepper spray or whatever it was, like, that was the right emotional response. And he celebrated. You know, I talked about Kyrie just laying on her back on the ring, just, yes, this is great. And Reigns celebrated like that title meant the world to him. And he needed to do that to win over some fans. He couldn't act like, well, now I got the belt because that's what I was booked to do, and now I'm going to go home. Like, he looked like this was a big moment for him. So,
damn right.
I A+ for the booking of that. And then I have no idea where they go from here. But they escaped a bad situation brilliantly, and it's a good thing they had Braun Strowman as a tool to use in that quest.
Man, I tell you what, it was a great weekend for wrestling because I really enjoyed the NXT show. I really enjoyed SummerSlam. I don't always get a chance to say that. I'm always glad when they go out there. And, you know, the crowd wasn't into a couple of matches, but every match I think that happened was solid or solid in its own right. And, you know, some of them they were a little tough. That U.S., title match was a little tough. By and large, for the most part, man, it was a great weekend for the WWE. And I guess tonight they're probably running the same building. When you can run the same building 3 nights in a row, that sure is nice on everybody. Not have to go different places. It'll be interesting to see what kind of crowd they get in there tonight after being there the 2 previous days. But a great weekend for the WWE, and I thought they delivered. Because I'm so unfamiliar with the NXT stuff, because it was so new to me, I probably enjoyed that show a little bit more than SummerSlam. But in saying that, I'm not putting down SummerSlam in any way, shape, or form. I enjoyed that show as well, but man, there were just some lights out matches on that NXT show, which to me just couldn't be denied.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There were 2 very different shows. It was a great weekend, and 2 really good shows on their own merits. And it's fun when you can come out of a weekend, invest that much time in 2 shows, and feel like it was time really well spent. It was a successful weekend for WWE, and I am very excited to talk about Raw and SmackDown on my podcast the next 2 days, because these are 2-day periods that are so fascinating to watch. Just the way Vince McMahon and his whole support team and then all the wrestlers follow up this, and then the next NXT TV tapings. They'll do the show this Wednesday. That's just a match or 2 from before Takeover. But a week from Wednesday, I'm really curious to see where they go from here with the Aleister Black mystery, who attacked him.
Yep.
Kyrie Sane celebrating. Just resetting. So this is going to be a fun couple weeks of WWE and NXT.
Well, once again, Wade, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Thanks for joining me here on the podcast.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Steve.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
What's going on, man?
Hi, guy.
Yeah,
the team. Loveline, man. You guys remember us from back in the day? Well, we're doing a pod, and we're doing it every day.
And we've been doing it for a while. And if I hear one more time people say, God, I loved you and Adam together on Loveline. And I'm like, yeah, we're doing a podcast. Will you please just join us at the Adam and Dr. Drew Show, please? At AdamandDrDrewShow.com. It's a great show. Come on now. Only on PodcastOne. That's us, Adam and Dr. Drew Show. Just like the old days.
Doctor's orders.
Oh, man, you're funny.
Yep. All right, let's go save some babies.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. I hope you enjoyed the show. Those are my opinions about the NXT Takeover event as well as SummerSlam. Thank you to Wade Keller for taking time out of his day to join me here on the podcast. Find him and his podcast wherever you can find it. He dropped the information for you. Wade has been doing this for a long-ass time, knows what he's talking about, and does some very good shows on his own. So make sure you find Wade shows and give those a listen. Hey man, ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin has Broken Skull Ranch shirts on their website. We've been meaning to come out with some Nevada-based shirts, and hopefully we'll get to that sooner rather than later. And this past weekend, I went down to El Segundo Brewing Company in El Segundo, California, and met with the owner, Rob Croxall, with my wife, Kristen, and had a few beers and just talked about the beer business. And I am proud to announce that Broken Skull IPA, a fresh batch batch was just brewed and delivered today. So if you're in the LA area, stop by El Segundo Brewing in person and get some right out of the draft. It's a damn good beer, and I'm extremely proud of it. You can find Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California. If you ain't in Cali, you're probably shit out of luck. This is hands down the best IPA in the United States of America, and I stand by that. That's the bottom line. Another bottom line is, if you're looking for a badass pocket knife, check out two that I came up with on a collaboration with Cold Steel Knives. The Cold Steel Broken Skull Knife and the Cold Steel Working Man Knife. Now at my Amazon store. Amazon has the best price on both knives. Just go to amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin or go right to the Cold Steel Knives website and check out all of their stuff. I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially BetOnline.ag, TrueCar, Geico, Theraworx, and Hyundai USA. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info on my sponsors, check out the show description to this episode for details. I am on social media, folks, Twitter and Instagram at Steve Austin BSR. Folks, until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.